If you are pregnant or you've recently had a baby, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Kath Bequee, a physiotherapist working in women's health and mum of 3. Join me each week as we dive into all things pregnancy care, childbirth and postnatal recovery, helping you have a wonderful pregnancy and afterbirth experience. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Well, hello, back to the FitNest Mama podcast. It is so lovely to have you join us this week. And this week, we're in for a treat because I'm chatting to the lovely Courtney, who is sharing her birth story as part of the Spilling the Milk series in this podcast. If we haven't met before, my name is Catherine Bequee. I'm a mum of 3 young girls, a physiotherapist for women, and I have an online community, FitNest Mama, which helps to provide pregnant and new mothers with exercises, support and resources they need to feel good from the inside out as they prepare for and recover from childbirth. FitNest Mama has workouts that are tired mum friendly, achy mum friendly, and toddler friendly that you can do in the convenience of your home at the end of a long day, whilst your bubba sleeps or whilst your toddler is running around causing havoc. So I have the pleasure of chatting to Courtney today. And as I said, this is part of the Spilling the Milk series of birth stories for the FitNest Mama podcast. So if you scroll back, you'll find there are quite a few Spilling the Milk series with different everyday mums who share their beautiful stories. So in this episode with Courtney discusses being a first-time mum, how she prepared for childbirth, and how a doula helped her and her partner prepare for birth. She discussed her experiences with hypnobirthing, a TENS machine, water injections, and a posterior baby. So I know you'll love this episode, so stick around. And before we dive in, I do invite you to come and join FitNest Mama. So if you're pregnant or you've had a baby, FitNest Mama is your opportunity to have access to quality supports, all created by physiotherapists, to help you really care for your body, feel confident during this pregnancy and motherhood phase of your life, and to help support your body so that you can get back to doing what you love with a bubba by your side. So to join this beautiful community of other pregnant and new mums, just simply head to fitnessmama.com and the link is in the show notes. Right, let's get into this episode. So hello, Courtney. Thank you for joining me today on the FitNest Mama podcast.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Oh, it's so exciting to chat. And I don't know your story at all, really. So I'm always honoured to chat to amazing mums who've got a story to share. And everyone does have a story to share, no matter what their story is. So could you please let us know a little bit about you and your motherhood journey? Like, what's brought you to where you are today?
So, yeah, my name's Courtney. I'm a first-time mum to little 3-month-old Fletcher. Yeah, he is pretty good little baby, to be quite honest. We were really lucky with our pregnancy journey, or even trying to fall pregnant. We fell pregnant reasonably quickly, which we're really happy with.
And whereabouts do you live?
I live up in Tyndall, so that is about 15 minutes out of Katherine and about 3 hours from Darwin, out in the Northern Territory. So it's nice and rural.
A beautiful area. And were you pregnant in that area, or have you just recently moved?
We recently moved from Adelaide. I fell pregnant down in Adelaide at the end of last year. And then once we moved up here, had little Fletch up here.
How was the journey to becoming pregnant? Like, did you just make a decision that, okay, now's the time, or was it, what was your journey like?
Yeah, so we had actually been sort of tossing up whether or not we wanted to fall pregnant for about a year or so, year and a half. And we kept saying, oh, yes, we'll do it. Oh, no, we won't do it. It's not the right time for our career. Oh, we're moving. You know, there was just so many different factors. And then at the end of last year, about October, actually, I said to Matt, you know, we can't really control what comes next, but what we can control is trying to fall pregnant. So do you want to just try? I said, I'm about the time of ovulating. Do you want to try? And he said, okay, yep, let's do it. And we tried. And yeah, within about a couple of weeks, Matt looked at me and was like, you're pregnant. And I'm like, what? And he's like, look at your breast, hun. And I was like, oh, yes, well, we'll see. And then, 26th of November last year, I took the test and found out that I was pregnant. So, yeah.
So what was it, just sort of overnight you suddenly felt that? Like, what made you suddenly have that conversation with Matt?
I think I was getting to the point where I still wanted to be able to have my career, but I really wanted to start a family. Matt had been wanting to start a family. Like I said, we've been toying about it for about a year and a half. So it was just we can't actually control what comes next. We can try our best with our careers, but we just don't really have that much control over it. We just said, let's give it a go. That's what we can control.
Yeah, amazing. So did you know you were so you moved to Tyndall for work. Was that for your work or for Matt's work?
Both of us, we were both due up for posting. So we tried to co-locate over to Brisbane, but we couldn't. So the next best option was going to be Tyndall. So we wanted to come here anyway. It was just we didn't want to come this early, but we're here and we're really enjoying it.
Okay, so when you found out you were pregnant, what was the process then? What did you do?
It's quite funny. When I actually found out I was pregnant, I think I just went into shock straight away. I didn't realize how fortunate I was to be able to fall pregnant so quickly. I called Matt in and I said, I think I'm pregnant. And he was so excited. We went and got the blood tests and, confirmed that I was pregnant. So that was really lovely. We moved up here and started touching base with the hospital, and that was pretty much that. It was really nice and simple.
Oh, brilliant. When you were pregnant, what were your thoughts about childbirth? Like, did you have any preconceived notions about how you wanted birth to go? Like, how did you prepare for birth?
Yeah, so I think before, as I fell pregnant, I did fear childbirth. I heard a lot of negative stories. I heard, tearing and C-sections and everything that could possibly go not right. So I did hypnobirthing before going into childbirth. That was really, really good. It helped with my anxieties, my fears. I also had a doula, and she was absolutely incredible. She sat me down and we just spoke about everything, all of my fears, all my anxieties, and that just helped sort of clear that up. So working with her, working with the hypnobirthing course, it definitely helped me go into that a lot more calm. I had no problems with going into childbirth. I felt that I was very aware of everything that could happen. I was aware of all the interventions. I had my birth preferences that I spoke with the midwives and doctors about. And everything went pretty smoothly, reasonably smoothly.
So I guess I'd love to know, well, how did you decide on your birth preferences? How did you decide on a doula? And what did you discuss with the doula?
So we wanted a support person for Matt initially. We're up in Tyndall. We have no family. We just had very little support from our family, or no support from our family. So we wanted someone there mostly for Matt to be his support person during childbirth. We didn't realize she was going to be so much more than that. So that's why we reached out to our doula and said, would you be happy to work with us? We sat down, had a chat, and we just connected. Like, it was incredible. So that's why we went with the doula.
Do you want to give your doula a shout out? What was her name?
Oh, Megan Harrop. She's amazing. Yes, my incredible doula. Thank you so much for everything.
Has she got an Instagram handle?
Yes, I do believe she does. I'll have to find it though.
Yeah, we'll link it below.
Absolutely.
So that's really interesting. You said you wanted a birth support person for Matt. I'm impressed that you thought that, because I wouldn't have thought that for my husband. I would have thought, oh, you'll be right. Can you talk me through that a little bit more and how she supported Matt? This episode is brought to you by Baby Bee, Australian owned and designed prams combining quality, safety and style. Not only does Baby Bee let you try their prams at home with free returns for 9 months, yes, that's 9 months, they also offer an industry-leading 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. With thousands of 5-star reviews, around-the-clock customer care, and up to $300 of free accessories with every pram, what are you waiting for? Go visit www.babybeeonline.com and check them out for yourself. And yes, for listeners of the podcast, there is a 20% discount code. Enter FITBEE, FITBEE 20 at checkout, and T's and C's apply.
Yeah, so we just wanted someone where he could pull away and talk to them, or she could jump in on our behalf, his behalf, to be able to talk to the midwives and doctors. She was someone that he could just go to and have a break as well. You know, even during childbirth, she said, why don't you go out and get a coffee, go and get some breakfast? And so he left the room, went and got that, and I didn't even know he had left because then I had her too, so that was great. But we decided that we wanted that for him because we didn't know what to expect during childbirth. If anything was to go wrong, you know, again, he had someone there. He was my support, and I just wanted him to be able to have someone to support him as well.
Yeah, and as a result, he was probably even more of a support to you.
Oh, he was incredible.
Can you remember anything he did in particular that were really helpful, that the listeners might find helpful?
He was very, very supportive throughout all of the pregnancy and childbirth. You know, he said, what don't you want me to do during childbirth? What can I do during your pregnancy? He was just there for me the whole time. He did the hypnobirthing course with me, like the entire hypnobirthing course, so he would understand that. He was just very there.
Yeah, lovely. You mentioned that the birth itself was a pretty good experience. Can you take me through from the moment you first realised you're in labour?
Well, I only really mentally prepared to go to about 38, 39 weeks, only because they kept saying, yeah, your baby's quite big. And I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to go to term here. But no, I did. I went 40 plus 3. But we started a Harry Potter marathon. We said, what's going to come first, the end of the movies or the baby? And during I think it was the 4th movie, it was about 9 o'clock at night. We were laying on the couch together and I was like, oh, this is different. Okay, we'll just leave it. It's fine. It's fine. And I started noting down the time, and I was feeling these surges about every 8 minutes apart. And I said to Matt, okay, I've had about 4 now. Maybe I'm in labor. I'm not too sure. And he said, okay, let's go to bed just in case you are. I got up and I couldn't walk. And I was like, oh, I think I'm in labor, but I'm not sure. So he still didn't call the hospital at this point. I went into the shower, had a bit of a shower, and then I laid down and everything was starting to get very, very intense. I had also gone to the toilet prior to that and, noticed my mucus plug had come out. And I was like, maybe I'm still not. I don't know.
How much time had passed here?
Only about an hour. Yeah. So I laid down in bed and I was, like I said, getting really intense surges. So I said, yep, okay, it's time to call the hospital just to let them know. I had also been diagnosed with gestational thrombocytopenia. So my platelets were quite low, which meant if they were low during labour, or below 70, then I would need to be flown to Darwin to deliver. So I had to call up prior to get the blood test done.
Okay, and so for those listening, that's for risk in case of the risk of hemorrhage and bleeding?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to clot properly.
How did you feel with that diagnosis?
Again, these are the things that we spoke about with the doula to help with those fear and anxiety. And I just said, no, my headspace was very much, everything's going to be okay. My baby's going to work with my body. My baby's the perfect size for my body. Everything's going to be okay. So I didn't necessarily focus on it. However, we did speak to the doctor about different birthing options. So I wanted a water birth, for instance. They were happy for me to labour in the water, but preferred that I didn't give birth in the water, just so they could monitor how much I would bleed. So I decided, okay, I'm not going to birth in the water. While I was laying in bed, Matt was running around getting the last little bits and pieces done and packing up the car. I spoke to the midwife at the hospital and she said, yep, come in. Don't stress about when you come in, but come in and we'll do your blood test. So it was about 1:30 in the morning by the time we got into the hospital. They took the test. By this stage, my surgeries were about 4.5 minutes apart. I'd spoken to my doula to let her know, yep, okay, things are happening. I'm in hospital. I'm just going to get the test and then I'm going to go home to labour. Like, it's all good. Just to let you know though, but don't come now. I got the test back at about 2:30. I was about 3.5, 4 minutes apart, and they said, oh, look, your platelets are quite low. We would prefer that you stay here. And I said, oh, I really want to go home to labour. Matt and I decided that we would stay just in case I did have any type of concealed bleeding, as well as my contractions were quite close together and very intense. So we set up in our room, and I think that was a really, really good decision. I put my TENS machine on. Thank you to my friend Amy who let me borrow that. It was great. And I sat over in the corner in the chair while Matt had a sleep. And then 5:00, I said, okay, you need to wake up and we need to call Megan. Let's do this.
So up until 5:00, how are you managing with the surges?
Probably not the best way, but I just sat down because I couldn't lay down. I wasn't comfortable in laying down. We were lucky at the hospital where we had a double bed. So I said to Matt, you go and have a sleep. I'm just going to do my thing. I can get through this by myself right now. So I just sat in the corner with my blanket over me and my TENS machine. And every time those surges came on, I boosted it. I wish I had have got up and sort of walked around a little bit, maybe tried to get into different positions, that sort of stuff. But at that time, they were pretty intense. So I wasn't really thinking that clearly.
And when you put the TENS machine on, press that button, did you try to do anything with your breathing or any of the hypnobirthing techniques that you'd learnt?
Yeah, so I just sort of sat there, closed my eyes, breathed with it. I would, breathe through my body and just try and relax as best as possible, breathing through my nose, not through my mouth. That was, definitely really helpful. And that helped me through those intense surges.
Yeah, right. Amazing. Okay, so 5:00 comes around, you give Matt a bit of a tap, you say it's go-to time. What happens then?
So from that point, I went into the bathroom and I did not realise how valuable the toilet would be during my labour. I spent a fair bit of time on the toilet because it just helped gravity, I guess, in that position. I didn't feel comfortable in any of the positions that I had actually practiced, which I found quite interesting. My body hated it. Prior to childbirth, I was practicing, on all fours. I felt really comfortable there. I was doing all the spinning baby things to make sure the baby was in position. Yeah, so that's what I sort of expected I would be in, leaning over the fit ball. But my body absolutely hated that.
And that's so great that you practice them, they're in your toolkit, but at the time you decided, no, not for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to get down on the floor, and as soon as I sort of leant forward with my hands on the floor, I said, nah, get me up, I'm not doing this.
Okay, so you chose the toilet and you felt that gravity was helpful. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So, like I said, everything was just so intense so quickly. Megan arrived and she said, well, you can put your fingers up. What can you feel? And I was like, oh, something soft is there. And so that was when they were like, right, let's get her over to the birthing suite. Oh, sorry. And before that, my waters had actually broken in that bathroom too. So I was still in my room and my waters had just broke. Everything was it happened quickly, but also was not happening quickly, if that makes sense. And I guess we'll go through that as we go on. But they had brought in all of the machines and everything ready for this baby to come out in that bathroom. So
is that where you went through transition?
No, I still wasn't in transition at that stage. Everything was it was just intense. I don't know at what point the baby rotated, but he ended up going posterior. And I found that out later once I was actually in the birthing suite. Yeah, once my waters are broken, they said, okay, can we get to the birthing suite? We walked to the birthing suite, and I think that was probably around 8 o'clock or so. And the baby wasn't born until 2:59 that afternoon. So it was quite long.
And how much of that was the pushing phase?
I don't know the timings exactly. I felt like there was times where I actually zoned out. I don't remember a lot, like even in that bathroom in our room, I remember sitting on the toilet, and then next thing you know, there's about 4 or 5 people in the room. And I was like, where did all these people come from? How long have I been here for? And it had been a couple of hours. So there was a lot of time where I just sort of wasn't there. I think I just zoned out so much. Yeah, which was great. But then I think once I hit that transition, it was very, very difficult to zone out. And when I found out that the baby was posterior, yes, that was very intense.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Like, why was it intense?
So with posterior, baby's spine and your spine is together. I didn't know that that's where he was. Um, I kept saying, I'm exhausted. I feel like I'm just trying to bear down and nothing is happening. My hips were just aching. Megan kept coming in behind me, holding onto my hips. I said, when is this going to be over? I was absolutely exhausted. I hadn't slept since about 9 a.m. the morning before. Through my birth preferences, I also said I didn't want any vaginal exams. I didn't feel like knowing how dilated I was going to help me. I didn't know what I would do with that information because you just don't know. You could dilate quite quickly. It could take you quite a while to get to 10 centimeters. So I didn't feel like it was going to do anything for me. Because I was so exhausted, I said to them, I need to know what's happening. I need to know where I'm at, I guess. So they said, you don't want any VEs. Are you sure this is what you want? And I said, yes, but please just tell me something. So they did a VE, said you're at 8 centimeters and your baby is posterior. And I was like, yeah, that's why this is taking so long. Gotcha. I kept trying to turn the baby. So I straddled the toilet. My arms were up on the top part of it with a pillow and was trying to turn him. And then I was walking around, trying to get onto all fours again. Like I said, my body didn't like that. I was in the shower on the fit ball. I was just trying absolutely everything. I was getting no relief. My surges were starting to compact. So I was having 2 really intense surges, and then that were quite long, and then a smaller surge. And I just wasn't getting any relief. Again, through my birth preferences, I didn't want any type of pain relief. But at that stage, I ended up saying I needed something. So they gave me a little bit more time to make sure that that was definitely what I wanted. And I said, yes, please just give me something. I ended up having the gas, sterilized water injections, and a small dose of fentanyl.
And tell me about each of those 3. What did you think?
So the gas, more than anything, just was trying to take my mind off what was happening, I guess, trying to give me that distraction. I tried to find anything to distract me and I couldn't. So I think the gas was just there to try and help with that. The sterilized water injections, they're very quick, but quite painful going in. My friend had told me about them, and she said, if you have back pain, I highly recommend these. And I also highly recommend them because if you have back pain, they work almost instantaneously. They hurt going in and they go in as you have that surge, but highly effective. And then the fentanyl, so the small dose of fentanyl, I was a little bit against, but like I said, I was just so exhausted and the pressure was just really intense. I said, yeah, let's do this. It didn't affect my baby in any way, which was fantastic. And I think that it definitely helped me to get through to that end. So after that, it was okay. I came out of the bathroom and I was like, yeah, the baby's coming. I'd been able to rotate him in different positions, which was fantastic. And I was just like, yep, the baby's coming. The baby's coming.
Amazing. And how did you know the baby had rotated?
I could just feel the baby starting to move through my body. And actually, yeah, as I was bearing down, I could feel the baby moving through. So that was pretty incredible. One thing that I didn't want to do, though, is I did not want to birth my baby on my back on the bed, because I had a fair bit of pelvic pain and lower back pain. I just felt like that wasn't going to be for me. But I did end up getting on the bed. I was on all fours, which was fantastic. I was also monitored. I had to have the CTG on me throughout my birthing, because the meconium had come through in those early stages. So they just needed to monitor the baby's heart rate. But he was fine at all stages, not in distress at all. So I was up on all fours, and they said, look, we can't find the baby's heart rate. We need to put the screw heart rate monitor on his head. And I said, no, I definitely don't want that. And they said, look, we cannot find into the baby's heart rate. We need to do this. And there's Megan up with me, and she's like, the baby is right there. You will push. You can do this. Just bear down. The next surge that you get, bear down. And as soon as she said that, the next surge came, I bared down, and I hear my midwife go, I've got the head. And I'm like, oh, good. So, yeah, we could see the baby, or they could see the baby crowning.
Wow. So what did you feel inside you when you thought, this is it? It's got to happen?
Yeah, at this stage, I was like, this is it. The baby's coming. The baby's, right there. Just control your breathing. You've got Megan up with you. You've got Matt. Matt decided he wanted to be down the business end. So he was down with our midwife, Beck. And I said, just concentrate on your breathing. Just bear down. Work with your body. Everything's happening okay. Like, everything's happy, healthy. Let's do this. So, yeah, I could feel that ring of fire, which I heard you talking about in that 5 days of labour, I think it was, or preparing for birth.
Yes, for those that are listening, every few months there's a free 3-day workshop, and that's all inside the membership too, and the childbirth module. Do you feel that that's a good description? Because I don't love that description, the ring of fire.
Absolutely. And the strange thing is as I was going, I was like, oh, that's the ring of fire. It was quite funny. Yes, and I did have time to think about that. I feel like the bearing down stage was so much easier than everything else. It was the easiest part of childbirth. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it really was. Baby's head popped out and the shoulders got stuck. So they said to me, you need to rotate. And I knew that his head was out. And I said, no, I'm not rotating. How am I meant to rotate? And they said, you need to flip over. So the doctor was like, you must flip over. And I said, no, I'm not flipping. And then again, Megan got in and was like, no, you have to. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. I have to. She's really getting her mum voice on with me at this point.
Isn't that amazing, that trust?
Yes.
Like having, the doctors say it, you didn't really pay attention, and then Megan says it and you're like, okay.
Yeah. I think it wasn't that I wasn't listening to the doctor. It was just like Megan could have said to me, I think that, yeah, okay, you need to flip, or you need to do this. And I would have at first probably gone, I don't think I can. The thought of having the baby's head out and then flipping, I didn't want to squish him. I think I was worried about that. Yeah, so I rotated. I just flipped my leg up. I feel like I absolutely threw myself over. The midwives and Matt all helped in making sure I didn't, land off the bed. And as soon as I did that, his shoulder came out. I think it took still a couple more surges for me to be able to push the rest of him out. And he finally popped out, which was incredible. I don't even think I have words for what I felt when I knew he was out. Matt and I decided that we'd have a surprise baby too. So we didn't actually know his gender.
Yeah, amazing. So that feeling when he came out, can you remember what you were feeling?
Matt actually pulled him out as well with my midwife, Beck. He put him on my chest And I just remember holding onto this baby on my chest and I just cried. I was like, oh my goodness. Matt was there. I looked at Matt. I was just so in awe. I'd never felt love like this before. I was trying to look at him, but I couldn't quite see him. And there was a lot still going on down below there that, yeah, I was just so in awe.
Amazing. And how was Matt feeling?
Yeah, I think he may have shed a tear as well, which was beautiful. But we looked at each other, we kissed each other. And after a few minutes, I was like, oh, what do we have? And he was like, oh, quick, and like looked under all the blankets. And he was like, a boy, we have a son. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have a little son. Oh my goodness.
Wow. So it was that's amazing. You were like just relishing the moment before you even found out the sex.
Yeah, we just wanted a healthy baby. That's all we wanted. So yeah, after a few minutes when we found out, it was pretty amazing.
Oh, that's so lovely. Were there any issues with the bleeding afterwards?
No. So I had again decided that I would have a managed third stage. I didn't want to risk bleeding with a physiological third stage. So prior to me going into labor, we said that yeah, I would have a managed third stage. I wanted to make that decision as I went into labor. So once I found out my platelets, but once I did find out my platelets, I was like, yeah, no, I'm happy with the managed. So they put a drip in my hand in early labor.
Yeah. And how did they manage that third stage of labor for those listening?
So I had some Syntocin and then they just helped get that placenta out. So they came in rubbing my belly and it wasn't too much longer before the placenta came out. I'm not exactly sure of the timings, but yeah, it all came out really well.
Yeah, great. Were you in hospital? Like at what stage did you go home?
Fletcher was born on a Wednesday and we ended up going home Friday night. We didn't need to stay, but we just wanted that little bit more support, I guess, at the hospital. They helped with breastfeeding. It was just a little bit easier for us. And we were planning on going home on the Saturday, but on Friday morning, they said, would you guys like to go home? And we said, oh, can we? Is that okay? And they said, yeah, you guys can go home tonight. We'll just do all of his tests that he needs today. And then you can go home tonight. So yeah, we were quite happy with that.
How was that feeling taking your baby home for the first time?
We walked out with this baby. I walked in with the belly and I walked out with the baby and I was like, oh my goodness. We put him in his car seat and we're like, oh my goodness, the car seat's been in here for weeks now. We're filling it with a baby and I don't think Matt's ever driven so slowly. So it took a little bit longer to get home and then we came inside. Like when we got home, we came inside. I sat on the couch and I breastfed Fletch and I was like, oh, this is our life. Cool. We have a baby. Okay. I think I was just, again, taking it in, like just soaking it all up.
Yeah, beautiful. And did the hormones kick in, the baby blues, those 4-day hormones?
I must admit, I feel I was pretty lucky. I don't think that I really went through any of that. I feel like I almost feel like my post birth shower was the most intense that I felt, like emotionally. I felt empty. I felt lost almost. I think everything happened for me then.
Where was this at, sorry? Or
at the hospital. So after I'd actually given birth and I went in and had my shower, so that very first shower after you've just given birth, I think that's where everything happened for me. I don't feel like I went through the 4-day blues. Even Matt said, I was ready to be here for you and you didn't really need it. And I said, but you've been doing so much more around the place. So I think between having a really good baby, which we were really lucky with, and then Matt being so supportive, I don't know, I didn't really feel it.
Yeah, amazing. And how's your breastfeeding journey been?
Yeah, it's been really good. I've been, again, really fortunate to not have any issues with breastfeeding. I've had a couple of blocked ducts here and there, but other than that, everything's been going really well. Fletcher's been growing like a champion. So, yeah, really lucky.
Oh, gorgeous. And your afterbirth recovery in terms of your pelvic floor, your perineum, how's all that going?
So Fletcher was a 4.5 kilo baby. I did not tear. And I think, again, that was being able to work with my body when he came out, as well as Beck had put a warm compress on my peri, which as soon as she did that, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that that's there. So that helped. And I did some perineal massage as well prior to birth. So I didn't tear, but I did have internal stitches because he came out with his hands up at his chest. So he clawed me internally. So I was still recovering from that. That took a few weeks. But then after that, everything was pretty good. Working on my pelvic floor, I will admit I probably need to work a lot more on it.
So why did you join FitNest Mama?
So I joined FitNest Mama because I wanted that community prior to birth and post-birth as well. Being my first, I didn't know what to expect at all. I also had a lot of pelvic pain during my pregnancy. So yeah, being able to do some exercises, chatting to you about, what I can do really helped as well, because, I got to the point where I was going, I can't even walk very well with this. So doing some floor work and things like that really helped. Then after birth, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know what I was meant to do. So I really wanted that support there as well.
Did you learn the perineal massage from FitNest Mama?
Yes, I did. I heard you talk about it through the workshop. I heard about it there. And then once I joined, I went in and I actually watched the class that you have there.
Yeah, okay, amazing. So for those listening, from 36 weeks onwards, it's been found that perineal massage can help to reduce your risk of perineal tears and episiotomy. So it's something that, can be really helpful for some women to help reduce their risk. And that's something we teach inside our childbirth module. Amazing. So moving forwards, what do you hope to get back to doing, like physically? What are your goals?
Yeah, so I'd really like to be able to get back into running, which I've started doing this week, which has been great. I thought that it would take a little bit longer, but no, getting back into running has been awesome. So being able to run my 5K in 12 months would be great, but I think I'll be on track to getting that done a little bit earlier. Yeah, and hoping that my pelvic floor, I have to do my pelvic floor a lot more regularly. I must admit, I've only been doing them about once a day and I need to do them more.
Oh, once a day is a great start. Did you have a pelvic floor assessment? Have you been able to access that from Tyndall?
No, I haven't done anything like that. After my 6-week postpartum review, they said everything was going well. I just need to make sure I'm doing my pelvic floor.
Yeah, okay. And that's what FitNest Mama is all about. I need to jump into the Facebook group a bit more regularly, don't I? Is that when you do them?
I've been doing them when I do my Pilates classes. Like I love those online Pilates classes. I've been trying to put a sticker up as well on my bathroom window, bathroom mirror. So when I'm on the toilet, I'm like, right, let's get this done.
I love it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story about birth of Fletcher. Do you have any final words of wisdom for pregnant mums or new mums that are listening today?
Yeah, I think if you go in and talk to your midwives and your doctors, be informed about your choices. Feel empowered that this is your choice, your body, what you want. So please, go in and talk to those healthcare professionals, because honestly, if I didn't go in and talk to them, I wouldn't have known what I wanted. I don't think that I would have had the choices that I had. So yeah, definitely go in, be informed, and know that you're strong enough to get through this.
Oh, that's so lovely. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Courtney, for joining me today on the FitNest Mama podcast.
Thanks, Kath.
And before I sign off, remember my team and I will be putting together the show notes for this episode with all the links, including how to connect with Megan, the doula, and myself at fitnessmama.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, come and send me a DM on Instagram at FitNest Mama. Have a fabulous day, everyone. And I look forward to you joining me next week for another episode of the FitNest Mama podcast. Thanks for listening to the FitNest Mama podcast, brought to you by the FitNest Mama freebies found at www.fitnessmama.com/free. So please take a few seconds to leave a review, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and be sure to take a screenshot of this podcast, upload it to your social media, and tag me at FitNest Mama so I can give you a shout out too. Until next time, remember, an active pregnancy, confident childbirth, and strong postnatal recovery is something that you deserve. Remember our disclaimer: materials and contents in this podcast are intended as general information only and shouldn't substitute any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I'll see you soon.